Now, speaking of westerns, let's talk about No Country for Old Men for a minute. You play Ellis in the film. There's a quote on your IMDb page that reads, you said, I think for the last 15, 20 years or so, Hollywood has underestimated the appeal of the Western. So how would you compare No Country to classic films in the Western genre?
Well, that was an interesting thing that happened. I was sitting at home and my manager called me. I'd heard about this No Country for Old Men. And I didn't really know anything about it, except my son auditioned for it about 6 months before they called me. And so I knew basically that there was a thing called that. And I said, well, I'm an old man and it takes place in Texas. So why don't they call me, I wonder? Well, they never did. And finally, just about a month before I was supposed to, they were supposed to start shooting. My manager called and said you've got an offer to do one scene in this movie. I don't know if you want to do it or not. It's only one scene, but it is with Tommy Lee Jones, and the Coen brothers are directing it, and they've written it. It's based on the Cormac McCarthy novel. Well, I hadn't read the novel, and I had to go to Kansas to do a short movie before I did that. And so I didn't have a chance to read the novel. I was in Kansas riding a horse it is a little short movie called Trail End, and it had basically me and a horse. That is basically the whole movie. We were riding across Kansas, and I had like 2 scenes with people. The rest of it is just me and the horse.
Nice.
So I was obviously pretty busy during that time. Didn't have a chance to read much, but I did read the script. When they sent me the script, I said, well, let me see the script. And I started reading it. I kept wondering, well, where is this Ellis character? I read, and there's all this, shooting people with one of these bolt guns that they kill cattle with in the slaughterhouses, various things. And I thought, well, this is bloody. I don't know if I want to do this. Yeah. And then I got to that scene, and I read it, and I said, whoa. I went back and read it again, and I called my manager up, and I said, man, this scene is the movie. Sure, I'll do it, of course.
Right.
Because it explains the whole movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I did, but I had to go to New Mexico. They were doing pre-production in New Mexico, and I had to go there and do a rehearsal, what they called a rehearsal with Tommy Lee, and which our rehearsal consisted of going in with the Coen brothers and just doing the scene. Mm-hmm. So that's what we did. We went in and we ran through the scene, and they said, okay, that's fine. Let's go to lunch. And coincidentally, I think it's Joel told me that my son, who'd come in audition for him 5 or 6 months before, they said it was between him and the other guy that got the part, and they needed somebody who was not dark and didn't have dark hair. So they cast this blonde kid that played the part. He gets strangled first by Javier. He came in, got chains around his neck, strangled him. So that's the part my son was up for, and he said it was just a matter of look. And Tommy Lee said, well, don't tell him that because he'll dye his hair. Well, no, I'm not going to tell him. When I got there, we did that, and then we went away, and then I went and did that movie in Kansas, and then came back, and they had to shoot my movie in the day after that I wrapped in the other one. So they had to charter a plane, fly me down from Dighton, Kansas to Marfa, Texas, which neither place has an airport, And so they chartered a plane, flew me down there, and they had a big, pretty hefty pilot. And I wanted to ask him when he had his last physical, but I was afraid It might insult him. I was in there by myself with him. That was it. And we made it. And the next day I got up and we went through the scenes and went through it. And an interesting thing about it was there were rattlesnakes up under that house. And these women came in with all these cats. And I said, don't let these cats out of here. You never see them again. As Tommy Lee walks in the door, first thing he did, he walks in the door, you see a cat run out beside him, run out the door. Never saw that cat again. That's a pretty primitive deal.
You were speaking about the Coen brothers. Were you familiar with their work prior to this? And if so, what was your favorite Coen brothers film?
Oh, sure. I was familiar with them. I liked Old Brother, Where Art Thou was one of them.
Oh, Clooney. Yeah, Clooney. Mm-hmm.
I liked Blood Simple when I first saw that. That's the first one I saw of theirs. And I've liked all their work pretty much, you know. And I when I went in, I was expecting to be there'd be, you know, a lot of notes and things. But we'd do a scene, and then they'd look at each other, and one of them would go, and the other one would go, all right, let's do it again. So we do it again. And that's the only direction I got. Or Tommy got.
Just do it again.
Got in it, and we had a break for lunch finally. And Tommy said, well, what do you think about these guys? I said, I don't know. They haven't talked to me. What do you think of them? This is the first time Tommy had worked with them too.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, let's just keep going, see how we do. And we finished that day, and we had to come back and do a couple of pickup scenes the next morning. And I left, went out of town. But I asked, I think it's Ethan, maybe it's Joel. I don't remember which one, but I said, do you guys ever give anybody directions? And he said one of the smartest things a director's ever said to me. He said, if we cast it right, we don't have to.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was, I thought I took that as a compliment. But and then I saw Tommy right after it was released, and he said, well, we were good. Yeah, we were good. About it.
Tommy, that's a good Tommy Lee Jones impression right there. Now, with the Coen brothers, you've worked with a lot of great writers and directors over the years, Coen brothers included. What do you think sets a great filmmaker apart from the rest?
They listen. They listen, and they pick up things that are going on in the actor's head. And you don't talk about it a whole lot. You listen to you. I listen to them, and they listen to me. And it's a collaboration, but it's almost a collaboration without language. It's an ESP thing. You know, you either connect or you don't connect.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky in that I can connect with most people. There's some people I just can't connect with. There was one director that I was working with. We were doing a scene, and he said, it just started into the scene. He said, cut. No, wait. Don't make that face. And I said, what? He said, don't make that face. And I said, well, this is the face you hired. He said, what do you mean don't make that face? He said, well, the face you just made, don't make that face. I said, well, do you think that I stand there when I'm shaving in the morning and practice faces to make? I tell me to think something different, think something else. And he said, okay, think something else. All right, roll it. So I did the same thing, and he said, brilliant. Well, he's just looking for something to say, and he confused the hell out of me. So, You
I was going to say this next question should probably have went towards the director and not Tommy Lee Jones. But speaking of Tommy Lee Jones, I want to know about that director. But speaking of Tommy Lee Jones, now the responses range from great to terrible when co-stars are asked about their experience with Tommy Lee Jones. Where would your personal experience land within that spectrum?
we've been friends for a long time. I've known Tommy since probably the early '80s. You know, we did a picture together called "Stranger on My Land." Television picture. It's Tommy Lee played Ben Johnson played his father, and I played a marshal who was having to throw them off part of their land, and I didn't like what I had to do, but I was doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And so I've known Tommy for I don't know how long is that. That's about 40 years, I guess. And so we're friends and know each other pretty well. He's a little cranky, but he's all right.
That's what I figured. I figured that it's just people that didn't really appreciate that kind of personality that is just straightforward and
yeah. Well, he is straightforward. He's not quite as straightforward as Wilford Brimley was, but he comes close.
I think Sam Gerard is the character he played that probably mostly mimics who he is in real life. I think that's really Tommy Lee Jones, Sam Gerard.
No Country for Old Men, to me, it feels more like a parable than a straightforward story. What do you think the message is in the movie?
That we all meet our match somewhere along the line. You've got to either accept it or change your direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the basis of it. I really don't have any more about it than that, because like I said, I only worked on it one day. So.
Yeah.
Now, being that one day, that long day, because if they're going to get you for one day, remember John said he got me one day, John can't do it, he come all day. All right, is there a particular memory that stands out from the one day that you were on set, whether it be with another actor or a set member, crew member, any particular memory?
Like I said, the place where we were shooting is very primitive. I don't know how they found it. It's out there in the middle of the desert outside of Marfa. And you had to go off the main road and go up a dirt road. I wouldn't be able to find it again, but it was exactly right for what we were supposed to have. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing, but later on, I worked with John Badham, who directed War Games. And he said, I had to wait until the credits to see who played Ellis. He said, I didn't recognize you. He said, you look like something that just grew up in the middle of the dirt out there in the desert. I said, well, the thing of it was they had it in the book, I guess, and in the script that I had one eye that was white, that didn't have any pupil in it. And they talked about doing that. I said, no, we don't need to do that. I can just play the guy,
Mm-hmm.
So I just I didn't have any makeup. Got a little dirt, that's it.
Yeah.
Didn't have any makeup at all.
So you got to make that face. The same face you had, you got to make that face and they were fine with it.
Don't make that face.
Before we move on, is there anything else that you'd like to share about the No Country for Old Men production? Like I know, again, you said you were there for a day, but
I went in for rehearsal. I ran into Josh Brolin, and I had known Josh from the days of this little series called the Young Riders. He played Bill Hickok in that, and we'd known each other sort of for that time. So I ran into him in the bar, and we proceeded to sit there and talk. Tommy Lee came in for a little bit. He had a couple of drinks with us, and then Javier came in, and he had a couple of drinks with us. So if I'd known Javier, if I'd seen this movie before I met him, I wouldn't have had a drink with him. I'd have skinned back to my room. But he's a very nice fella, and so I met a bunch of these people, and the lady that played his wife, played Josh's wife in the movie, has a very heavy Scottish brogue in real life. And I thought she did a Texas accent pretty well. I thought she fooled me. But in real life, she sounded like a woman right out of the Highlands.
Nice. Amazing.
Why don't you subscribe? It'll last longer.